and in the world of relationship, it's called ARC. So we always call it like you got to build ARC with your boss.
What is ARC?
Okay.
I only know ASMR.
So ASMR.
You can just drop and stop.
yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief furniture coconut, and today he's very, very green. How can we have a green screen?
I was trying to dress like financial coconut theme, you know. Hi, this is Eric, Mr. Positivity.
And this is Dawn, the only into the young here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm in pink.
Yeah, okay, fair. And I just want to say I miss having your presence.
We miss you.
Yeah. Today, as much as I enjoy your, all your presence as my pseudo colleagues.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Pseudo colleagues today.
That's true.
Yeah. On some level, right, we're creating this show together. We are going to talk about this one phenomenon or this one very interesting thing that I saw on Business Insider. And the theme for today's discussion is not having fun with your colleagues a crime? Why? Okay, why do I want to bring this up today? Because recently Business Insider, they published an IG post, right? So to talk about this man that was fired from the consultancy firm, and then the man went to sue the company. So the reason for him being fired was because he was not fun, like quote unquote not fun, 不合群, not part of the group, does not participate in activities, and then he was fired. And then of course he went to court and then sued the company. And the court say, yeah, this guy is right because he freedom of speech or freedom of expression, that kind of thing, right? So that is the genesis of today's episode. Like when I saw it, I tagged you guys. Yes. I was like, oh my god, that's an interesting topic, because I do feel a lot of people are in that crux, like, should I have fun with my colleagues? Is it a must? Will I get fired? That kind of thing.
Yeah. But let's add on to that, right? So when I saw that and you tagged me, I was like, okay, I know what Reggie is thinking. But if we look from the company's perspective, it's also the company's freedom to fire whoever they want, isn't it?
True.
Yeah, so it's very confusing. I mean, I feel that there's two separate situations, right? First of all, I think that a reporter is just trying to get views, because by saying it's a crime, we all know what crime is.
No, it literally was.
Right?
It went into court.
It went to court.
Yeah, but the thing is that to us, when you hear crime, what do you all think about?
Of course, I know what you're saying, right? It's deriving that kind of energy,
like that someone got hurt, got
yeah.
harmed, and then in the process, and therefore we're trying to get justice. So I think there are two parts to it.
Some would argue that guy really got hurt.
Income-wise.
On some level.
Okay,
but we don't need to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to go there.
True.
Yes.
But to the question about whether the company, so let's not talk about legal rights, right? Because every country has their own set of rules, right? But
and US is a weird country with weird.
In US, you can. The only thing that prevents you from suing someone is just the will to sue someone.
No, yeah, it's your strong legal team.
and you can sue anyone for anything,
yes,
in US. But I guess the question is this: that is it wrong if, let's say, a person doesn't want to hang out with their colleagues, and is it wrong
crime?
for them?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think so.
So we move away from the crime idea, right? But is it wrong not to have fun with your colleagues?
When you say wrong or right, it implies that there is a set of rules, right? So number one, I would question the company. Was that set up front? Because it's part of culture, right? That, okay, as part of you being an employee of ABC company, we would need you, or we want you to do the following things, including making sure you have great bonds with your colleagues.
And that needs to be contractually stated so that you then have a contractual basis to fire the person for it.
So my question is, did the company has that?
Must it be like that? Okay,
if you use the fact that I'm firing you because of this, then it only makes sense that it was contractually communicated upfront.
So like in Singapore, you cannot just anyhow fire a person. You have to prove that it's because they break contract.
Okay.
So if let's say it's not even written, then I have no basis.
But most job description will not write all these things, right?
Exactly.
Like you need to handle your boss, which is true, right? Upward management is a complicated thing that's not discussed, right? You need to manage your colleagues or hang out with them, or like build decent relationship with them. All these are kind of there but not there. It's like not written in job description, and it's like a assume you must do it kind of thing, right? And I think that is where a lot of the dissonance, that even a lot of our listeners, they tune in, they'll be like, yeah, should I have fun with my colleagues? Should I hang out with them? Must I socialize with them after work?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the scope of your job. Let's say, for example, your job require, especially right now, there's a lot of cross-functional teams, right? Where in order for you to get things done, the salesperson needs to work with the marketing needs to work with compliance. So I guess the question is, do you need your colleagues' support in order to be successful in your job? If you do, then I think it is very advantageous for you to at least build affinity with your colleagues.
Yeah, and by going for fun activities, even if you don't think it's fun, it's actually increasing your likability with your colleagues. And then at the same time, like when people like you, they tend to do more things for you, especially in difficult times.
And in the world of relationship, it's called ARC. So we always call it like, you got to build ARC with your boss. You got to build ARC with your colleagues.
What is ARC?
Okay.
I only know ASMR.
So, ASMR.
We can just drop and stop you.
Yeah.
Okay, so ARC is actually scientific. That means if you look at any relationship that breaks down, is because one of that components is missing. So the very first component is affinity. That for even a relationship to exist, right, is because there is a certain amount of affinity. Like the three of us, there's a certain amount of similarity and chemistry that allow us to want to be together. So there's the initial amount A. But R is important, which is where the hanging out comes in, is do I have enough reality with that person?
Reality.
R, reality. Do I have enough touch point? Do I have enough interaction with that person? Because the more interactions we have, there's this thing called familiarity effect. The higher the chance for likability to happen.
So that's why the men hit it off very quickly, even if they don't know each other, because they share the same reality of having gone to army.
Tell me, is there a like horrible experience that you have?
No. I mean, I just found it always very interesting that the guys are there, hey bro,
Because
and then they just talk non-stop.
reality.
Yeah.
Which unit you go to? What's your like reservist unit? Blah 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 blah. It's like
Yeah, everything else is like no. Then they start talking about army, and it's like it's a 3-hour conversation.
I know. I share with you a short story, right?
Yes,
The other day, I just shifted into my new apartment, right? So then when I shifted to my new apartment, I didn't realize that the stairway has echo. Okay, so I live on the 4th floor, and I didn't realize that the sound actually within that stairway bounces down to everybody and it becomes extra loud. So I like to open my big door because got air, got everything, right? Like I don't want to keep within the enclosed space. So there was this one day I just like decided to open it, and then I was playing music at like 7 a.m. I was like, okay, 7 a.m. play some light music, right? And it was just so loud because it echoes down as it bounces down the stairway until my neighbor come out, just like 7点半而已，你可以安静吗？ I was like, am I so noisy? I just play light music, classical somehow, no like yo kind of thing, And then after that, I realized that, oh, this is the reality. So we actually very 尴尬. For a period of time, we're very awkward, until one day I brought a cat home. Right, and then she was a cat lover.
There you go.
Like she loves cats. She was like, oh, where do you get this cat from?
That's affinity.
Yeah.
There's a click. Similarity.
Yeah. And then she started giving me like cat advice, bringing up all the seeds
reality.
and everything.
Can you see how A leads to R? So you notice she starts spending more time with you, start talking to you. That's reality.
So that's A leading to R. Then what's C?
Yeah.
The one that we talked about in the previous episode,
Communication?
which is about should we be friends with boss? It's about communication. You got it.
Yeah.
Right? That in any relationship,
How cheesy.
like we're teeing each other up.
Okay. Yeah. Woohoo.
So it's very important for her to be
Because
there.
it could have been connection.
Okay.
Communication. What is the set of rules that allow us to continue to hang out together?
Okay.
So do I communicate my needs to you, and what I need you to contribute back to me? And do we do the same thing? So in a relationship, right, usually when things start to break apart, it's because communication. Like I expect you to do something for me, but you don't. But I didn't want to say it because like what Reggie said, I assume you should know. And therefore, because of that, I start spending less time with you. So reality drops. And the minute I start spending less time with you, I start seeing differences, right? Affinity also drop, and it goes in a spiral down in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it sounds like A is kind of a given. You don't really have to work for it. R can be nurtured, but again, it could be low effort. But the biggest effort all comes down to C.
Yeah, the communication.
So in this case, if the colleague does not want to have fun with everyone else, he is opting out of the potentially A and R. But what if he's a very good communicator still?
Very
That
good
would
at drawing
still-
boundaries, right? Yeah, because I come from the camp that I do not hang out with my colleagues. I don't hang out with my colleagues because I feel like it is a relatively well-defined kind of environment in a sense that, okay, we are here to get shit done. We are here to get things done. This is the goal. We build towards the goal. Okay, but I hang out with the friends that I find within the company. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wait, let's caveat that. When you say that there's a goal and you work towards it, does that goal hinge on a uniform goal, company, larger goal?
Yeah.
Or does that also include your own role? So like you would perform better at your role and be more eligible for promotions if your colleagues like help you.
Of course. I think there's some element of that, right? But that is really changing from a skill set situation to like a management skill set situation, right? If you want to get promoted in a traditional kind of management structure situation, right? Fair, right? So, but my view is, as long as you're good at what you do, that is the good base to start with. Okay, that's a good base to start with. But I do not hang out with the colleagues. I say we don't go and have fun, like go USS, go down and drink. I was like, no, these are not my thing. Okay, I do hang out with friends that I find at work. So the other day I was telling my producer, hey, you want to go out? He said, I thought you said you don't hang out with your colleagues. I don't see you as my colleague, man.
But that's affinity.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you already changed the label, right? You changed your colleague label to a friend because there's high affinity. And that's absolutely okay in your scope. But now if we look from a company's point of view, I think the company needs to communicate with Reggie clearly that, yes, I respect that space, but would it be okay for, team camaraderie that you'll be involved in at least one of the get-togethers, that the bosses will be there too, we'll all spend time.
So the thing is, right, I champion this kind of activity, but I don't see it as hangout. This is work. So I see it in a very strategic way.
Strategic,
So you would
formal,
classify those fun activities as work still.
Yes. And to me, that gives me the right state of mind. Okay? So it gives me the right state of mind because I'm very clear, I'm here to hang out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm here to make friends. I'm here to make you like me. I'm here to get to know you. All this is work. Okay? So it's a very different psyche. And the thing is, some people when they hear me say, wow, this guy very 狡猾, like very shrewd, very like someone like very shrewd in that sense. And shrewd does not carry a very positive light in our society. Then I tell them, how innocent you want me to be? Like, it's like,
I think this is interesting because essentially you are like that guy in the article. It's just that you did not go down his road as what is deemed as failure because he paid the price of being fired. And it didn't happen to you because you were able to just change your mindset. And he wasn't.
Yes.
So he was just like, he's unable to change his mindset. He looks at it and like, nope, I don't want to. I have to, but I don't want to. I'm out.
Yeah.
Whereas you're like, I don't like it, but I have to. I understand what I need to do and I'll do it.
This guy who got fired is not playing to the rules of the organization.
Yes.
Now, because there's two parts to it, yeah. There's the rules of the organization, which is the one that Reggie is happily willing to play by. But he's not happily willing to play by the rules of the social clique that was formed by his colleagues, which is the random outings, the random fun. They're like, hey, let's go for lunch and all that. That one, Reggie say, no, I'm not subscribed to that.
Yes.
And that's fine. And there's no basis for him, Reggie, to be fired because he's not hanging out with the social rules because the organization didn't set those rules. Unless they did, then that's a different thing.
Yeah, and to be clear, when I organize this kind of activities, I make sure I hit all the right notes, right? Like how to make your boss feel good, make your colleagues have fun. I'm very good at this thing, right? So I come in, I know what time to do, how to manage this whole atmosphere. It's like, hello everybody, woohoo! Today we're here to blah blah blah. All this I know how to do, and I do it to tip top, So it becomes a very different optics. Okay, and the thing is, when I do that, right, I don't feel like I'm being shrewd. I feel like I'm just. This is the requirement.
You're just being a team player.
Yeah, and I'm doing my best so that everybody have fun. But after that, I'll be very tired.
Okay, does that come? Is where are we drawing the line? Is it that that's okay because it is company organized or like someone key that represents company? But then if it's like individual, like your colleague initiated, then you're like, no, this is not work.
Because it's about means to an end, you see.
Yeah.
Some of us socialize because we enjoy socializing. Reggie socialized because there's a certain goal he wants to
It's
achieve.
a benefit of it.
Yeah.
So if it's a colleague initiated, would you go for that?
If I like the colleague, okay lah. Yeah, so that means then in my head, okay, so I think I'm a bit square that way, right? So in my head, then the colleague becomes like friend. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, but if you don't like the colleague, so let's say this is a key team player in your team and you don't like him, but he says, everyone, let's go for bowling together. It's not a bonding exercise because you guys just had that last week. Okay? And everyone in the team says yes to him, let's go bowling. What would you do?
If it's a strategy, I will play the strategy. That means if I want to get a promotion or if I want to get to know this person better, with the end in mind, right, I will do it.
Yeah.
But it will be very sporadic and managed. You know, it's like when we are friends, right? You text me randomly. I was like, oh, okay, I will. I very tired. I will still reply you. I was like, hey, want to come on? Okay, Actually, I very shy, but I'll come out. But I'll tell you, actually, I very tired, but I'll meet you because we're friends. You know what I mean? But if it's like my colleague, I was like, sorry, I'm very busy today. That kind of thing. So then it becomes a very structured, on some level, calculated kind of view. Where in my head there's this arbitrary like, I think I met the person the other day already. If I meet today, will I make the person feel better? Will I increase my points? No lah, then never mind.
So much thought just to meeting someone.
No, and the thing is, it's not active thought. It's not an active thought process. It's already, I already have this It's not like I don't write down a piece of shit like a chart, a right table. No, none of that already. I've gone through a certain time period to refine this way of thought.
But in the world of DISC, it just means that Reggie is a very naturally task-oriented person. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have the skills to socialize. He has a skill, but it's not always turned on by default.
Yeah.
He turns it on when he needs to use it. But people who are more social, because there's task-oriented and there's relationship, people-oriented, right? So people-oriented by default is they enjoy all those activities. Whether is it to achieve a goal or not, it doesn't matter. Because by itself, the activity already achieved its goal. So I think the company needs to be a bit more sensitive about the type of people that they have. Now, they can set their culture, which is why we need culture, because culture is what unites different people together. But it's when the company doesn't have the culture, then subcultures get created by the alpha leaders in the colleagues. And if you don't control that, then that's where things go haywire.
Yes, then,
right?
Exactly.
Well, that sounds like emperor, like...
If you don't manage it well,
I agree. Actually, the thing is, I agree. Yeah. So
it makes a lot of sense when he puts it in this way.
Of course, definitely.
I just wanted to add. So for me, when I read that, in my case, when I was just starting work, I was very cautious. And I did not really want to hang out too much with my colleagues. I hung out to the bare minimum in the sense that I need to roughly know where everyone is, what kind of character they are, to kind of understand them better. So in that sense, I was very strategic.
Also, right?
Yes, I went there with objective. But then once I, maybe a couple of outings would be enough. And then you kind of know who you want to spend more time with and who you don't really want to, but just work at the bare minimum. So you try and wriggle your way out of things. But then at a point as well, right, I think what really helped very strongly in my mind was, I don't know who's my friend or foe. So I go for my first few outings to have fun while being careful not to let my guard down. So I can try and identify who will be friend or foe. And then after that, when I became a lot older and wiser and I'm in my multiple job already, right? I realized that isn't really the thing. I just kind of, you learn how to read people better. You can identify without having to go for so many of these outings. And also it becomes more of I need to protect myself. My mental health and my, my time. I need to protect my time and learn to say no because I need to take care of myself before I can be good for all of you guys. And all these things don't matter as much anymore. And I think also as we get older, we get better at protecting ourselves. So even if you're my foe and I can't identify that, you can backstab me, but I know how to protect myself and prevent that from becoming shit for my job. But if I was in my 20s, I had no idea how to defend. If someone backstabbed me or screwed up my work, I wouldn't know. So I had to be more protective in that sense of going for all these meetings and outings, fun outings.
Yeah. But I will push on the label of friend and foe, right? Because that is simplistic. To me, it's a bit binary. Because in an organization, your friend can very quickly become your foe, right? And your foe can very quickly be aligned and we are here together and get things done, right? I think in episode 1, I think I said one line that was can you trust an asshole, right? I can trust an asshole, as long as they are consistent.
I can trust an asshole, because they are consistently an asshole.
Because trust is about consistency.
Trust is about consistency. If this person is always late, I can trust that this guy is confirmed late one.
So, and to me, that in a workplace, there's some level of that, right? That friend and foe can kind of move around. It's not always the case, right? So. But I agree with you in the sense that, you go out there, meet some people, kind of sense them a little bit. But that is aligned with my thought process. I don't find that it's against my thought process because I'm strategic in the sense that, I need to get to know these people a little bit so that I know what ticks them, what works them, But because I think like that, I become very quick in sensing. Right? I have harnessed the ability to ask certain questions, and then that you kind of get a good sensing of where they are in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah.
I get
Well, I feel like getting cancelled. Like, wow, this person very shrewd. It's like all the negative comments coming in. Yeah.
I don't think it's about being shrewd. I just think that it's about learning how to be
Very
authentic.
奸诈, very 奸
No,
诈.
because all of us are inclined different way, right? So yours will be you're using your task-oriented personality to navigate. But some of us will use our people-oriented personality to navigate. Either way, it still works.
So will you have fun with your colleagues? Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
I will, because I'm a very sociable person. So having fun with a person itself is already a goal for me, right? I enjoy it. So yeah.
But if you don't have time, then what gives?
Wait, what do you mean by do
So
I have
let's
no time
say,
to socialize?
after work. So someone says, let's go for bowling. It's a fun
Yeah.
activity, but you're
I
like,
love how your reference is let's go for bowling and let's go for drinks.
What's up with bowling? Like, she likes bowling a lot.
It's like, let's go for bowling. So let's go for drinks, because I think a lot of our listeners like work in finance, work in IT, or work in like the CBD areas. Let's go for drinks, go for drinks.
Yeah, but that's the boring one. I want to use something out of the norm,
okay.
right? So let's
Great, I love
say
that.
your
Yes,
colleagues
yes.
say, let's go for bowling. To him, it's fun, but you're like, I hate bowling. I'm a terrible bowler. And I really need to get like this side hustle done, which my boss and colleagues don't know about. And I don't want them to know. What would you then choose?
No, then of course, then it's always about priorities, right? So if my side hustle is more important, then obviously I will stick to the side hustle. But if let's say my colleagues ask for an activity which is like something I don't enjoy, I would still go, because from a social, if you are talking to a very sociable person, it really doesn't matter what activity, as long as I'm around people, because sociable people, they get energized when they're around people.
Yes.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
very envious of those people, Although I'm, but
they-
the thing
they
is,
have
although
their weaknesses
although I'm
also,
envious,
I
right?
feel.
I don't try to be like them.
No, because
You know what I mean? Because
emotions are their strength, but emotions can also be their weakness. Because when they're overly close with people, there's no boundaries. It makes it sometimes very difficult for them to be assertive because they're trying to be nice. Or the minute when they become a boss, it makes it very difficult for them to command and control.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel that you see, like on your end is you're very good at command and control, but you need a bit of that lubricant. You need a bit of that relationship. So
Which I've learned over time.
God is
you know
fair,
what I mean?
man.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
You either set of personality will have its own unique challenges. Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's God, but anyway. Oh, we don't go there. Please continue.
I'm like curious
Yeah, yeah.
for our readers
Yeah.
and for
And
us, but we
listeners.
should run this
Yeah.
as a poll.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So I'm curious for our listeners, what have you ever had a best friend or a really, really good friend, close enough to become the definition of a best friend, and you met that person as a colleague? Yeah. Did you guys have that?
For me, no.
No. You?
I have.
Really?
I have.
Hey.
I have a very, very good friend.
Wait, yeah, my business partner lah.
Yeah,
my business
yeah.
partner is like my BFF lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But you met as a colleague.
No, not we met as friends first.
Then that's different.
That's
No, but did you
different.
have
Yes,
like
yes.
someone where your initial affinity and shared
Yes, it's like a
reality
work relationship.
was
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
colleague.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about it. How did that
Yeah.
evolve from colleagues to then
Friends.
friends,
So
best
it's-
friends?
Of course, it started in the army, lah, right? And I consider army the first work relationship.
Army
okay?
as well. Wow, I did not consider
very busy,
that.
leh, in army, right? So,
Okay, never mind.
yes.
Like,
yes.
you go on.
Yeah, so it's like you're in the army. That's like my very first work relationship. Okay, maybe because it's my first work relationship, so I didn't. So it became like I wasn't as structured as where I am now, right? In my head, lah. Like I wasn't as refined, structured. Very bad word, lah. I wasn't as refined, so I was just very open to kind of talk to people and all that, right? And then I met a person that is from a neighboring camp. Okay, so like there are camps in the camp. I don't know if you know these kind of things, right? So there was our neighboring camp, and then we got to know each other. Then end up every because we do work together quite a lot in terms of like different units kind of working together, and then eventually we started hanging out outside. I don't know. Did we play bowling? I cannot even remember. I can't remember. Did we play bowling?
Maybe
But
board games.
yeah,
maybe.
maybe. Oh, I love
Yeah,
board
you
games.
love
Right?
board
So yeah,
games.
so we hung out quite a bit, and it became like even during my very tough times, he was like, just stay over at my place, or that kind of thing, right? So it's a very supportive relationship, and I thought that was like a great friend, lah. Yeah. So and that evolved, right? So eventually, I mean, army is you naturally get fired after 2 years, right? you get to go after 2 years, right? And I still feel like it's a very good friend in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah. So I never label the person as a
I think
colleague
it's just
anymore.
it's two different topics, right? Number one is, would you go out with your colleagues, right? But then there's now a caveat. If my colleague is my friend, then yes, I will hang out with them. But if let's say you see as colleagues only, then maybe not.
But I may not choose to work with a friend. That is different, right? So I may not choose to work with a friend. I mean, in one of the earlier episodes, I did establish this thing, right? Like, I'd rather befriend my co-founders or befriend the people I work with than start a business with my friends.
Into it.
Yes, because it adds the complexity. And I think one big caveat for a lot of our listeners is recently, I mean, I met up with some of the listeners, you know, we're like kind of friends, we play board game together. That's nice. So that's great, it's lovely. And some people were saying, one of them was casually commenting, so, it's been a long time since I made new friends. But they're in the 30s, work in finance, very busy every day in, day out, right? Then got wife, got home, everything. So the time is quite packed already in that sense. And I feel like that's a very risky position to be in, because there are always bad times in your work or at home, or things that not so smooth right? During times of difficulty. And if your social circle is that small, right? Like it's like, I have friends, all my colleagues are my friends, or like some people, at work are my friends. But sometimes the work is the cesspool, like we're going through hard times, budget get cut, or like sales come down. It's hard time. All these things are changing. Your friends and foes are changing, right? So in such a situation, you do need a social relationship out of work. And you do need friends, not your wife or partner.
Yeah, it's cleaner. It's easier to talk to.
No, it's not about cleaner or not cleaner. Of course, it is cleaner in that sense, right? But it is the very fact that because they transcend the border that you're in, which is in work, then like you can shit on, you can tell them everything. I tell you, I hear blah, 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 and
they can be more neutral.
You'll be very clear that there's no repercussion. You don't know whether this information will leak to who if you talk to someone within. And we are humans, right? We need to vent, right? Like, although I don't really like to go to the bar and then like a bunch of people next door venting. So it's, but because I didn't choose to be within that venting circle, right? But if I was part of that venting circle, let's say you text me, say, hey, time's very hard. Let's come out and talk. Right? And if I come out and talk, right, my mental space is I'm here to hear you vent, right? And then we can talk about it, right? But the bar is a different situation, right? So to me, that is a big part of you should have friends out of work and not just like, have fun with your colleague and see them as friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's probably going to be, again, personality driven, right? It'll be easier for a people-oriented person to make friends.
Yeah.
And then if, let's say, you're so task-oriented, right, then all the relationship you make is always for a goal.
Yeah. So I give all of you a quick tip. Pick up a hobby. Right, so then the goal is very clear. If we end up liking to play board games, every week our goal is to play board games. But as we play board games and we kind of enjoy each other's company,
that's where you have the A and the R.
And the R and the
then
C.
we become friends. So you have you take an activity as the goal. Right?
That's why the government have all the activities for the elderly, right? So that they can create the A and the R.
Yeah. And to be clear, I think community center needs to do more, and it's already doing quite a lot of stuff, right? Like, more activities and all that, right? So it's great, right? And we can all have more activities as a goal to then get to know people.
And I like where this conversation is going. I mean, it started off with something a bit more controversial, but it brings down to the importance of whether you're task oriented or people oriented, that friends are still important. Having social relationships are important. Years ago, Reader Digest did a study on longevity.
You trust Reader Digest?
Okay, we have to ask you, right? The blogger.
That's a different question. Let's not go there.
I have to say though,
to buy Reader Digest.
I love Reader Digest. I mean, that was how I pick up English and composition.
Okay, please.
So, Reader Digest did a study on longevity, and they actually point out the top 2 reasons for longevity. Okay, the second one is actually having friends and family members. That means if you have a close circle of friends and family that you can count on, you get to live long.
That was number 1.
Exactly. I knew you asked that. Would you all venture a guess of what leads?
Money. So that you're sick, you can pay for doctor.
Okay, money. How about you?
I don't know.
Okay, it's
peace.
It's the ability to talk to anyone. That means social connection with anyone, with strangers.
Money is not one of the...
It's not.
What?
It's in the list. But it's not
okay.
longevity, like.
Maybe because you can talk to anyone, you can talk to a doctor to give you free.
Wow, okay. I don't think it's about persuasion. But when they elaborated is, if you ever see a person who can just make friends with anyone with easily. They are the one that usually live the longest. Followed by people who make friends with their friends and their family members.
What if you're someone who can talk to anyone but you don't want to live so long?
Then don't
That's
talk
a
to anyone.
different. That's a different discussion altogether. Different discussion
That
altogether.
one you do something about it. You know?
And I want to
Yeah.
add to that in a sense that, for all you introverts or ambiverts or whatever you want to classify yourself, that is not extroverted.
Yes.
You can learn one. Like
Yeah,
these things,
it's
like
simple.
you can learn how to make friends with anybody, or you can learn how to. I cannot say make friend. Let's say you define a friend in a very specific way. You can learn to talk to anyone. And I am quite a good example. I can talk to anybody. Any Tom, Dick, Harry come in, I can do a very good interview. Comes out, it will be good one. If it's not good, you also will not see my card already. so it is there's a way to go about doing that. But if we bring it back to the context of like work, right? Like because the opening of this thing is like, is it a crime? In other words, it is some level of penalization. Okay, let's say it's not a crime. You don't sue your boss for firing you, but your boss can fire you because you are not part of the group, you're not part of the culture, you're not having fun, right? So on some level, it's about penalizing at work, right? Which is the most extreme penalization is out you go. Right, and then of course there are other ways like slower promotion, stagnation. You don't get important roles, new department don't use you. That kind of thing. Do you think this is a phenomenon? Like if someone does not participate in the company culture, not as fun, not as participatory, they get penalized in this growth within the organization. Do you feel that is a reality?
I think it's a reality, and it's a very fair reality, I would say, because culture is actually a company's competitive advantage. Culture is what increases employees' retention. Culture is what increases employees' productivity. Culture is what increases the company's recruitment as well. So from an employer's point of view, we understand the importance of culture and camaraderie and people being able to work well together, right? Especially with AI taking over our jobs, the importance of collaboration, partnerships, it becomes a human advantage. So I think that companies should never be penalized for wanting that. Now, the moral question then is they need to be very explicit in saying that you will be penalized if you don't know how to play a team. It's no longer an unspoken rule. We make everything clear. So if you don't play well with us, we have the right and we'll probably let you leave, or we would say that you don't belong here because that's just not the culture.
Yeah.
As long as you say it very clearly and we sign it, there's nothing wrong with them letting an employee go.
Okay.
I think also if we look for that guy, right? That guy in the article specifically, we can understand him not wanting to take part. He may have various reasons or whatever, maybe don't like colleague, got personal difficulty whatsoever. And it feels very unjust that, just because of this small matter, I get fired. But if we recognize... Yeah, to him it might be small, but to the company it might be big.
Yes.
That's why it was a justification. And I think also as people, as workers, as employees, as colleagues, we need to kind of recognize that there are a lot of things that we think for our benefit, but we also need to consider some things we may not like, but we still have to do because there's a bigger objective. And that bigger objective is what matters when it comes to your work. So if you don't play with that objective, to that objective, then you just have to naturally pay the repercussions, even if you think it's unfair.
Yeah, it's as simple as, do you play well with the team? It's really active. I think it boils down to that one ability: do you play well?
Yeah.
Regardless of personality, skills, and inclination.
Yeah, and guy in the article actually worked for a consultancy company. So that's why fun is important, because that's all they do. And
we disagree. We're not by
Really
association.
not say that.
But it is like, if the company's core value is fun, right? Then obviously I want to make sure that everyone that comes our way is fun. Otherwise, you how to work together.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And that's why in my organization, it is work first, right?
No, that is
get
fine.
things done, right? Like I have to get things done. I don't care how you do it. Yeah, you tell me there's a bit of delay, a bit early, it doesn't matter. You can wake up in the middle of the night, pay FIFA and do it. As long as the quality comes out, it's good.
And that is the value. And therefore, if put it in your world, right, someone gets fired because they never put in the work, and it's a crime, then it's weird, right? But it's the same story right now.
Yeah.
It's just that expectations are
Yes,
different.
it's different. So in other words, in my organization, you don't try to la liang your way out of this thing. You don't try to like, hey, have fun. I don't give a I don't care, right? Like, we get things done, we move it forward, and I'm very clear, very explicit with everybody, right? Like, we're here, this is the expectation. As long as you get the end product out, I don't care what you do. In the middle, you have family issues you need to handle. You got this thing pop up. Doesn't matter. As long as we get things done, that's all. Right?
Question:
Yes.
If you had a really talented video editor, or
shout out to
producer,
my video editor. Yes.
a super insanely talented one, but not fun at all. Everyone doesn't really like working with him, but he's really very talented, very good at what he does, very on time, but he's just not fun and people just don't enjoy. And when he's in the room with everyone, your work production is very good, but you feel sucked and drained out of energy. Would
seen
you
those people, yes.
retain that person?
Okay, so it's a bit of a two-sided kind of thing, right? A lot of people believe that culture is top-down, right? But there are two major forces, right? One major force is, of course, the leadership at the top. They come down and say, this is the culture we want. And then they allocate resources, they do initiatives for blah, blah, blah to kind of build this culture. But there's also the bottom-up kind of situation where if a lot of people in the company is like that and you want to shift all of them, right? Either a lot of them leave or you're going to find a very hard hurdle to change them, right? So there's one big underlining idea there is that there's this one person here that is this oddball, but the assumption is the person is an oddball.
Yeah.
Right. But if the person comes in and everybody comes into this company with a clear idea that, this is how the company works, then it is not that bad already. Right? Highly likely that's the situation. But if just so happen there's an oddball, right, then maybe the oddball needs to go because the bigger goal is then to keep the whole organization moving. Right? But on that ground, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that the bigger bunch of people have already shifted the organizational culture, right? So it is a building and an ongoing flux kind of structure, right? Like, okay, maybe at the top, let's say, to put it simply, okay, my organizational culture is must get things done, okay? But as I move along, let's say I hire other people as the organization grow, and then I'm not as in tune with the organization on the ground, and then people started hiring people that were like more fun, like young people more fun. There's a general broad culture out there, right? There are different facets of things. And as these external cultures start to enter the organization and they shift it, right? Yeah, subcultures, and they try to, and then with them being the dominant bunch of people, they shift the culture. And then I awaken to the reality that things have shifted. And I think that's a lot of things where a lot of old bosses start to realize, hey, times are different. Whatever I used to think does not apply to the world today. So there's a little bit of that. And when you're in that in that situation, then you got to ask yourself, like, am I here to keep the whole organization? If that is the goal, then the anomalies may have to leave. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not as clean cut as like, this person super talented and then everybody don't like him then fire.
It's more of the dominance of the subculture.
Yes.
So if the subculture hadn't gained foot by that point, then it could make sense to keep this oddball because it will still get things moving. But if it's already taken and planted very strong roots, keeping that oddball, even though it would help the productivity and the quality of the work, it's a drain on other resources.
Yes.
And it affects that culture, which may then cause that dominant group of people to potentially leave or seek out other pastures which is as fun and fits their subculture.
Yes.
Hence, you would then pick and let the oddball
and
go.
Then
and then you would be the boss
culture.
who fires that guy for not being fun and then he sues you back for it.
But I will push to say that there's of course other ways out, which is to fire the subculture. But that one is politically expensive.
Yeah, and the
it's a long
subculture is
process.
so dominant, it's the majority, so it's harder.
Yes, so it's very hard. Then it becomes a revolution pretty much, right? You got to change a lot of people, fire a lot of people. I've seen like what Mars is trying to do, right? Come in, drop the toilet bowl, or the sink or whatever, and then say, okay, culture is going to change now. Right? Then you start to see a lot of people move out and there's all this mess and everything, right? So, yeah.
But whatever that we talk about, right, it also depends on the size of the company. Because if let's say you're looking at an MNC level or that 20, 30, 40 people, then yes, right? Because anything that's more 30% can already set a culture already. But if let's say now we're talking SME, because there are also SME listening to you, right? We maybe only got 3 staff, 4 staff. Then maybe you can practice a more moderate,
not ME, it's only S.
Small companies,
or
right?
MSE, micro small enterprise.
Actually, you don't really have a culture yet.
Yes.
In fact, if you only have 4 people and one is an oddball, that oddball is part of the culture. Because 25% already, what?
And if the oddball keeps hiring and expand his team, right, then the oddball becomes the dominant culture.
culture.
exactly.
So in this case, right, if that guy had been part of another team with a different subculture where like you don't have to be fun, you just need to be productive, he may not have been fired.
It may not, and so therefore, back to your question, right? I would say that as a boss, I will ring fence him because the fact is that he's producing good work, but he's not really creating toxic to the rest of the people. But it's just that he's not fun to hang out with. Box him up because as business, we still want to make profits. But ring fence him.
Okay, so you work from home, everyone else can work from office.
And I just be the only point of contact because I understand how difficult to hire people these days, right? Yeah, but when organizations start getting bigger, the biggest conflict is we dare not fire the star performers who are toxic to the culture. That one's dangerous because then you lose the 90% of the people. And anyway, the star performer is not loyal to you anyway. So the star performer leave too. So the ideas depends on the size of the company.
Yeah. Also, I want to add to that nuance of subcultures, right? Because as an organization, bigger is inherent that there are subcultures. So, like if you talk to salespeople, they got one kwan one. They got the jianghu way. You know, like salespeople all have this like hustle out there to do their thing, and it is important.
Yeah.
Right? Because within an organization, if you don't have, like, I call them warriors, like if you don't have the warriors, you know, who is going to fight the battles, right? So the salespeople are like the warrior kwan, you know, they have a certain style, they do it in a certain way, and it works. I mean, I talk to many sales reps, even Carousel, all the big tech firms, right? They all look like Zhang Hu Wei one. They all the salespeople got a warrior style, and it works, right? Because in order to succeed in that field of work, regardless of what you're selling, there are some basic parameters, you know, that needs to happen, right? And so that there is that element, you know. But maybe you run a tech company, you know, and then you want like everybody yo chill, come in, like have fun, wear t-shirt, shorts, you know, whatever, right? But then you have like your whole sales team is like a weird culture, right? The reality is it is important for them to because of their business process, they have to have a certain culture.
So they can have that subculture in the sales team.
Yes. Yeah. Or in other teams, like in the creative team, you always think they're very airy-fairy, right? Always have random ideas. This one will work, man. But this is the whole process. They need to do all that shit eventually to get it to work. Right. So as you get much bigger as an organization, I recognize the validity of subcultures, you know, and why they exist. It's not like always everything must be the same, you know. And by extension then means that, you know, if you are the guy in the story that got fired, right, maybe you can ask change department, you know, join back office, right?
Yeah.
Don't be part of the sales team.
Yeah.
Right. And you can still continue to do some of these things, but in a different place that you can harness better and best fits you.
So to conclude, I think what's really interesting about this whole discussion is that while it just started off as a walao, this kind of lawsuit also can, but it evolved into the take-home tips. For me, what I found really useful was the subcultures part, whereby as an employee, you want to recognize if you are not part of the subculture, if you are in conflict with that subculture. And then either you change yourself to adapt to that subculture just for survival's sake, or you ask to switch team to a different subculture that will suit you better. And then as a boss, you also want to recognize that there may be different subcultures, and to the point whereby someone doesn't fit a subculture that is quickly becoming dominant, then you may have to make the difficult decision of either ring-fencing him if possible, if not, let him go. Or speak to him and see if he wants to be a part of it.
And that is the role of a boss, right? On some level. Or that's the role of the manager. You're paid
manager.
to do that, right? You're paid to do that, yes.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. What do you think was the most insightful for today's conversation?
I think it's the one about having friends. Yeah, that, you know, it's okay that your colleagues are not friends, but hopefully you listening to us or watching us have actually friends that you can count on during difficult times, because, I mean, that's what determines longevity and your happiness.
Okay. So you found your own insights the most exciting.
Actually, it was
It was your army story.
Yeah, it was your army story that
Oh,
triggered
okay,
that. I was like,
okay.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay that your colleagues are not friends, but you must have friends.
And
That even if you're an introvert or you're task oriented, as you said,
You
pick
need
up
friends.
a hobby. Because the minute you pick up a hobby, high affinity already, it's easy to make friends.
yeah, you definitely meet people. You can't play board game alone, right?
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that one person board game. I know there is, but no.
Put the teddy bear there, you know, like that.
Please don't. Right? Don't.
Which is so...
Even the Stranger Things guys play together, although they're kind of weird, right? But you know, there is a group.
How about you? What's your takeaway?
So I think one of the best takeaway I had was the ring fencing idea, right? Because I'm quite practical that way, right? So I thought that was a good view in the sense that, okay, sometimes when my organization gets a bit bigger, you know, not everybody kind of abide by the same thing, but there are some people that just perform really well. And on some level, I already ring fence them. That means I don't show them. If let's say there's something, it's like this person don't need to come, but they're very good, let them do their thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is a inherent requirement. I just never vividly have a word for it or realize that, oh, okay, because ring fencing is a very visual language, right? It's like, okay, ring fence, you sit here, draw one circle, you know, very, very, very visual. But I do it in a more like, you know,
subtle
very
way.
subtle way. Oh, this person, never mind, don't need come for meeting. You know, like come for meeting also not productive because that's not the main thing that he or she does, right? They're just very good at what they do. They're very bad at meeting or very bad at hangout, right? So,
So if you're the one and you kind of you listen to this and you're like, oh shucks, am I being ring fenced at work? Then maybe the next question would be, are you part of the dominant subculture, or maybe are you so confident of your value that you're being ring fenced because your boss still want to keep you, or you're being ring fenced because it's just a step to saying goodbye?
It's a prelude.
prelude. It's like, hey, why nobody chill me anymore? Right.
In Netflix, it's called a penultimate.
Right. Why nobody chill me anymore? Right. And to be clear, if you keep rejecting, of course nobody chill you, right? So you wanna kind of do this sparingly, and kind of work this a little bit more strategic, right? And that's it for today. Lovely discussion. Yeah. So my base case.
Let us know what's your biggest takeaway.
Yes. Let us know. Put in the comment section. But my base case is not a crime, right? And it's not a crime. It's just a little bit more complex, right? And take care. I hope you do well in your career,
And I hope you guys aren't the one being ring fenced. If you are, you know what to do.
Dr. MOM. Read your contract first, Read your contract. If it's not in your contract, it's still a case that you can bring up.
Yes. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you. Lovely.